Sheryl Lee Ralph, welcome to TCM. So glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm a fan of your work. Of course, most recently, Abbott Elementary, which is right here on the Warner Brothers lot.
That's right.
Where we are. You've won an Emmy.
Yes.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We have two movies coming up that you've picked. We're going to start with To Sir with Love with Sidney Poitier from 1967. The other movie, a decade later, marked the screen debut of a young actress named Sheryl Lee Ralph. And it's a movie that I full-on love.
Thank you.
Piece of the action also with Poitier.
That's right.
So we'll get to that. I take it because you picked two Poitier movies that he matters to you.
Oh, Mr. Poitier mattered a whole lot to me. When I think about my debut to Hollywood and the way this man welcomed me, the way he mentored me, the way he cared about me throughout my whole career. I spoke to him right up until about maybe a month before he passed away. That's how long that relationship was. That man meant so much to me. One day we were wrapping up and he said, I wish the industry had more to offer you because you deserve it. I knew he was always talking to me, telling me the realities, giving me the facts, but he didn't leave me to figure it out for myself. It was like, you talk about it being my job to look good. He gave me a case, a little black makeup case with everything in it so that every set that I would go on once I left the set of Piece of the Action, I could take care of myself, that I knew what to do for the way I would look on camera. He helped me to understand lighting, how I might need more lighting and how that would matter to me in terms of how I would show up on screen. He was good to me.
How old were you? You're like early 20s, right? You get this gig, right?
I'm 19 when we start shooting, yes.
So when you got the part, did you know who the two stars were?
First of all, it's crazy because I'm traveling, doing a tour of duty for the, the Department of Defense, and I'm singing with this group.
So like the USO or something like that? Or like
something like that, yeah. Yes. And I come back, and back in the day, you used to have a thing called a service, and they would take all these messages. And my acting teacher there was a big ensemble called the Negro Ensemble Company, and so many great black actors came out of that company. And my teacher kept calling me, and he was leaving message after message. And when he finally spoke to me, he was an AP, associate producer on the movie. He said, Sheryl, you have got to be at Warner Brothers Studio tomorrow. And I'm like, how am I going to be at Warner Brothers? When you're 19, you can't rent a car. You don't have a credit card at that time.
And you were where?
And I'm here. I had just landed in L.A. I literally got off the plane because I knew there was something here for me. I didn't know what it was, but I got off that plane, and I never made the connection to New York, which drove my dad crazy. He was like, come home. But I stay, and I go stay with his long-lost cousin, Maybelle. And Maybelle hasn't driven in, I'm going to say, 10 years. And Maybelle said yes, because I said, Maybelle, I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Sidney Poitier. She chain-smoked all the way there. It took us 45 minutes to get from Hollywood and Highland to Warner Brothers. And she was drenched in sweat when we got into the parking lot. Oh, my goodness. And I said, Maybelle, come on, we're going to meet Mr. Poitier. And she said, no, baby, no. You go on in there and go get your dream come true. Oh, my goodness. And I walk in, there's Mr. Poitier sitting behind this desk. And I was like, oh, my God, just to meet him, just to be on the Warner Brothers lot. My first time setting foot there, I am thrilled and happy. I leave and go to Jamaica to see my mother. And I'm there in Jamaica for a month. Nothing. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? I gave it my best shot. It's good. Just when I've just let it go, I get a phone call, and it is Mr. Poitier on the phone.
He called you himself?
He called me himself.
In Jamaica? In
Jamaica. And he says, Sheryl Lee Ralph, pack your bag. We're making a movie together. Baby!
Come on.
I mean...
It's the greatest story ever.
I ran out the front door and I was screaming, I'm going to Hollywood.
You really did that?
I really
like
did
in the
that.
movies.
Like in the movies. I'm going to Hollywood. You know, in my family, we loved Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier came on the screen. Oh, you were watching it. Time just stopped. And for me to have my first film with him and for him to care about me on set, it was just a wonderful circle for me. And my teacher, Chris Kaiser, was so proud of me that he had taught me, and he was an associate producer, and here I go. Oh, it was wonderful.
I've heard a lot of, like, getting your first job stories, but I think that one wins.
Oh,
I mean, that was good. I mean,
thank you.
So I imagine then, given how important Sidney Poitier was to you, to your family, that when obviously you got that role 10 years after this, but in To Serve with Love from 1967, you saw this, I imagine, in a theater.
Yes.
Sidney Poitier plays a teacher, and he's put in front of these unbelievably, not so much unruly students, but students that have been sort of written off as hopeless. And his job is to get through the year.
If he can.
If he can, but he takes it seriously. 1967 for Sidney Poitier, one of the best years any actor has ever had. In the Heat of the Night, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and To Serve with Love.
To Serve with Love.
So what drew you then to this movie? What draws you to it now?
The school, the classroom. If you listen to the dialogue of this movie from 1967, you could remake that movie right now, change very little of it, and it is still very relevant. And to look at this man who is literally just coming into the classroom because he hasn't been able to get a job.
Right.
He has not been able to secure the thing, his purpose, his passion.
He's an engineer.
He's an engineer,
right.
And nobody's hiring him. Then you get into that classroom, and the man who he is starts coming out to these students. And my dad was an educator as well, and when I saw what he did for those students, I was just like, oh, I love this teacher. I just love him.
Yeah. Much more to say, Sheryl, after the film, but let's watch it for now. Sidney Poitier leads the cast of To Serve with Love. Back with Sheryl Lee Ralph. Sheryl, thanks for being here. It's a thrill to have you, and thanks for picking these two movies.
Thank you.
Man, sometimes the ending has to deliver, and this one, you didn't need a moment after that. Because in my head, I made up that he's gonna ask Jillian out now, right? Because he's gonna stay, right? you know. He's so handsome, she's so pretty. It's gonna be great, you know.
I loved when one of the other teachers, she just looks at him knowing that he's got this opportunity, and she says, don't waste that teaching skill on engineering. Don't waste it, you know.
Even if you leave, teach somewhere else.
Yes,
even if you leave here. Don't let this go to waste.
Oh, my God, I just love that.
And even the guy who was giving him a hard time, who made the slightly off-color joke at the beginning, he was like,
anybody can be an engineer, but teaching this mob is... Well, I wish I had your gift.
And you see how the character rubbed off on that character as well, because he was a dirty, sloppy mess when we saw him first.
He'd given up.
He had absolutely given up on himself and the students.
That's right.
And then at the end, when he was making the effort to look better and comb his hair, I was like, wow, the impact of this teacher was just wonderful.
Yeah, it's my favorite one of these movies.
Yes.
Of teacher influences student. This is the most credible, somehow the deepest to me. And many of them are good, including one that Poitier is in, Blackboard Jungle, where he plays a student.
Education in so many of his films, it just keeps coming up. And I love that about him because he has so much to show and share with the world. The scene where he realizes, I let them make me lose my temper. And he keeps thinking through it. What is he going to do? He said, children. And he dumps the books when he goes back into the classroom. And he says, you know what? We're going to talk. And they're like, what are we going to talk about? And he says, we're going to talk about anything you want to talk about. We're going to talk about life, dreams, race, sex. And they talked a lot about all of that.
All of it, right.
And it was the way they all started to grow up. I was like, this is a wonderful teacher, too.
Man, it's a beautiful movie. It is a beautiful movie, and that's a great performance.
And good music. The song To Sir with Love, which they played at least 3 times throughout the movie. Lulu sang that song.
Lulu, who played...
The redheadish.
The redheadish, the
Yes.
short-haired one, right? I found this to be an incredibly satisfying movie with real stakes. Like, you don't at any point know what's going to happen. Could that kid attack the gym teacher who kind of deserved it? That was possible. Does the way that Pamela liked him get him in trouble?
When the mother shows up.
When the mother shows up, what's that? What's going to happen?
What's happening?
But what's happening is life's complicated, and he never really worried about what anybody else was saying.
Not at all. He just went about the business of being his best self, giving his best self to his students. And whew, an educator like that is worth gold.
Well, you play an educator in that vein. Unlike Sidney Poitier, your character, Barbara Howard, has been teaching for 30 years.
That's right.
Maybe more. And you haven't given up on one kid.
Absolutely not. And that's why I really love Barbara Howard. She is dedicated to the students in her classroom 1 year after the other. And she's so good at it that they actually come back to tell her thank you, to visit with her, to say thank you. The way you've impacted my life. I love educators like that.
Yeah, that's on Abbott Elementary, which has just been, you just finished season 5.
Season 5 picked up for season 6.
Cheryl, thanks very much. We have a lot more to say, but we'll do it in the next movie.
All right.
Cheryl has the back half of her double feature left on the slate tonight, so stick around. From 1977, Sidney Poitier directs himself along with Bill Cosby and Sheryl Lee Ralph in her screen debut. A piece of the action is next on TCM. Back here with Sheryl Lee Ralph, who's become one of my favorite guests ever, just in a very brief period of time. Sheryl has programmed this double feature. We just had Sidney Poitier leading the cast of To Sir with Love from 1967. Now from 1977, Sidney Poitier, the director and actor, along with Bill Cosby, in a piece of the action in a film that marked your screen debut.
Yes.
You got this part and it changed your life. And that has happened with a lot of people in this business, right? Where they have a moment where like, oh, my, right? But you knew at the moment that it changed your life. Yeah. You know, there was no like realizing, oh, that was a pivotal thing for me. Like, you know, from phone call 1 when you got this part that this was...
Quite literally, I'm talking to my teacher from my acting class at the Negro Ensemble Company, Chris Kaiser, who is now
in New York.
He's in. Yes, we had class in New York.
In New York
because I was studying at Rutgers. I was a student at Rutgers University, and you can create something called independent study. So I knew that they weren't offering me the kind of acting class I want, so I submitted to go into their professional class. Do not ask me what was in my head that made me think I should submit myself to audition for the professional class, but I did.
You were 19.
I was 19. Yeah. I get in. I'm in this class. It's amazing, the people that were around me. But
can you
Chris
say
Kaiser,
some of the people who were in that class?
Oh, my goodness. Sarah Dash, who was in a group called La Belle with Patti LaBelle, Trezana Beverly, who had just won the Tony for 4 colored girls who were considering suicide when the rainbow was not enough. There was Robert Hooks, Kevin Hooks' dad, yes. Yeah. They were very encouraging. So here I am coming back from my tour of duty, and Chris Kaiser's been calling me. You've got to be at Warner Brothers. Oh, baby. It was on. Oh, it was on, as the children say, like popcorn, yes.
So these 2 movies that you've chosen, we just had, I think, the best teacher-influencing student movie ever made, and To Sir with Love.
I'm glad you feel that way, because I feel that way, too.
And this movie, A Piece of the Action, I think of as a crime movie, and it is, except it's really a teaching movie, too. In a bizarre but somehow believable set of circumstances. Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier, they're sophisticated crooks. They don't know each other. And they get blackmailed by a former cop, James Earl Jones, who blackmails them into doing something good. Which leads them to teaching some similar age students to what we just saw and helping these kids find a job.
Exactly.
By the way, Cheryl, I think it's safe to say, program these 2 movies about teachers, because she plays a very powerful and impactful teacher, Barbara Howard, in Abbott Elementary, which is shot right here on the Warner Brothers lot. It's really an exceptional show.
Thank you very much. I always tell people, why is Barbara Howard such a good teacher, because in reality, Barbara Howard is Barbara Hanley from A Piece of the Action, who had the kind of teacher that made an impact on her to do better in life.
So there's a scene in this film where you confront the teacher struggling with you.
All of y'all got the jobs and you making your money off of us.
Right on.
Administering to your lesser brethren and sisters. All us poor, deprived ghetto children. Shit!
Your character, she is filled with rage, filled with anger, filled with resentment, and that can be played one way, in a way that would probably make you dislike the character. But there is immediately, even in the moments when she is most resentful and most angry, where there is this aching humanity in her, where you're like, oh, I wish I could give this person a hug, which they probably don't want right now, but I still want to do it. And that's hard to do. But was it hard then? Did you recognize it as hard then?
I don't think I recognized it as hard then, because being a child of the 60s, I had seen so many things that were heart-wrenching and hard for a child to take in, and I was seeing how children just a little bit older than me were really suffering trying to do the right thing, and how detrimental poverty could be when mixed with race and racism, and how that could play on the psyche of a person just trying to do better. And just taking all of that in, I guess, visually, reading the papers, when I got the script and I saw those words, I felt like this is where my passion is meeting my purpose in what I'm going to do. And I had to validate her saying to the world, I'm better than what you think I am. I just don't know how to do it by myself.
We're going to watch the movie now, and you've talked a little bit about, getting the role from Poitier, but I haven't yet asked what it's like to be in a scene with him, or what it's like, because he's also directing.
Yes, he is.
So you had Poitier, the actor and director. We're going to talk about all that after we see this delightful film that I couldn't possibly like more.
Thank you.
Here it is, from 1977, directed by Sidney Poitier. He stars along with Bill Cosby, James Earl Jones, Sheryl Lee Ralph. This is A Piece of the Action. Back with Sheryl Lee Ralph, plays Barbara Howard on Abbott Elementary. She programmed a couple of movies about impactful teachers.
Yes.
Sidney Poitier in To Serve with Love, and the movie we just saw, Sidney Poitier again in A Piece of the Action. So how was he as a co-star? How was he as a scene partner?
You know how sometimes when you have a teacher and they see something good in you and they're not going to let you slide by, they're going to expect you to rise to the challenge of this moment? And I remember one day, I used to carry this big book with me all the time called The People's Almanac. And my thing was to learn something new every day. One day I'm on set with my People's Almanac, and I'm reading. And I guess Mr. Poitier was trying to get my attention, but I can't hear because I'm reading. And he comes up to me, and the teacher puts the book down on the table,
pushes it
and he
down.
says, and what are you doing? And I'm now so embarrassed because everybody's looking at me, right? And he says, because I'm directing a movie. And I'm like, oh my God. And he said, so tell us all what's so interesting. And oh my God, I couldn't possibly say out loud what I was reading. And I was like, oh, I can't. He said, but you must, because you were so engulfed in what was ever in that book that you weren't paying attention to me, your director. So please, share out loud. Oh, my God, I'll never forget that as long as I live.
Did you share?
I had to share.
Yeah, had to
yes,
share.
and I will not share it here. No. I will not share it here. Oh, and then to hear them all snickering and laughing at me, oh, my God, it was horrible. A lot of them, the kids in the classroom, we were in touch, and they were like, do you remember that word? Do you remember it? All the things you can say about Mr. Poitier, everybody is so many different things. But for me, this was a wonderful human being, at a time in my life that it really, really mattered. And this man, being who he is, put a stamp on who I am in everything I do, that when you come to the set, everybody else is coming with you. And it is up to you to be prepared, be ready, bring your best self. And he did that for me.
I get that this was not a guy you wanted to let down.
And not at all.
Donald Bogle, who has written, extensively on the Black experience on camera in television and in movies, is probably the person I've interviewed most at TCM. And we talk about Poitier, obviously, a lot, but Donald made me understand a burden that Poitier carried to some significant portion of America. Everything he did represented all Black people.
That's right.
But also the fact that for years and years and years, Hollywood, bestowed him, okay, we're going to open the door for you. Mm-hmm. But then they shut the door immediately. They were like, God forbid there would be two sexy leading Black men.
Right.
And so we end up talking about actors like Ivan Dixon, who was enormously talented and who 20 years later would have had a really successful career, to say nothing of today. He would have. But that's a whole other burden.
That's right.
Right? And he carried it through every single performance, every scene, and is great as much as I think Paul Newman is just, I can watch anything Paul Newman, Robert Redford do. They never had to carry that, ever, or anything like that.
That's right. He represented everybody, and his peers were just as good. There was Brock Peters, there was Ozzie Davis, of course his friend Harry Belafonte, the two West Indians. There were so many of them all around that were doing great work, but there were so many limited chances. It's like he could walk in a room and there could be 7 just as talented.
Of course.
Just with the same ability, but they were only going to pick one because there was only room for one.
And of course, there's no way that among some of those guys it didn't build some resentment because they're human beings.
That's right.
Right? Even though it's not his fault.
Not his fault at all.
Right.
And then, you think of the fact that he was an obviously Black man.
That's right. That's right.
And then, Hollywood had this thing about you could be Black, but you couldn't be too Black. It would be better if you were lighter skinned and all of that. And there were all of these crazy things that were going on in how a Black person, Black actor, was able to move forward. We still have bits of that now, but thank God it has changed. Thank God there are now people who even look like me or similar to me that are running the studio. Because you got to have somebody there to champion for you. If there's no one to champion there for you, you're just there. Somebody has to see you, know you, and value you, and at least accept your worth as this is important.
Sheryl Lee Ralph, I couldn't have enjoyed this more. Thank you so much.
You.
Season 5 of Abbott Elementary is available now. You may have already seen it. And season 6 airing in the fall.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very successful situation comedy. Doesn't
Another
happen.
22 episodes, baby.
Doesn't happen all the time. Sheryl Lee Ralph's work is done for the night, but the movies, of course, continue here on TCM. And as always, they are uncut, they are commercial-free, so you need to keep watching.
Yes.